I think I'm ready.
Great.
Okay, cool. Yeah, fire away. We read over your questions and kind of discussed them, but like we're happy to answer anything on script, off script. Pick our brains. We're here for you. Maybe we should just all go around and introduce ourselves. Would probably be the easiest way to do it.
Yeah. So why don't you start, Jarrett?
Oh, I'm Jarrett Poole. You probably know me as CT over on Discord and Reddit and such, and I'm community manager on Dauntless. Y'all probably know me.
And I'm Eric Fagna. I'm the lead designer on Dauntless, and you probably know me as Proteus on Discord and Reddit.
I'm Jeff Moore. I am the product lead on Dauntless, and I'm known as Moose Baka in game. And I've been in Discord a little bit. It's going to be more and more as we get into the new year.
Thank you guys for coming, and yeah, I'm pretty happy because I seen Proteus before.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if I met with you, Moose.
No, you definitely haven't. I only joined in June of this year, and so I'm new to Phoenix Labs and new to working on Dauntless. But I've been playing since about April.
So let's start with the questions. The end game activities. Trials are out for more than 2 years, and over time, players competing lessen it, and rewards for the competitive players is just a title, the Dauntless title. I wonder, especially with the introduction of the specific weapon board, if we could get weapon-specific top 5 cosmetics. I mainly think about the red crowns, what someone designed on Reddit long time ago.
Cool.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing those.
These
I suggestion.
I think it was an old Reddit post. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question. Obviously, I can take a stab at it. Yeah, trials is something we've wanted to improve for a while. We took a stab at making a bunch of improvements early on in the year. We did the per weapon leaderboards, the normalization, tweak the objectives. That was sort of our pass for this year. Although we've always wanted to add more rewards in there. The trials reward store has gotten pretty stale. One thing we've wanted to do for a while is to add more kind of evergreen rewards, stuff you can just keep purchasing over and over. That's sort of like our solution to a lot of these currency problems. We want you to be able to just play trials forever and always find like you have meaningful rewards. It's not as high on the priority list as some other items we want to tackle over the next few months. So I won't make any promises on timelines, but it's definitely something we want to take a look at some point next year.
It's a late next year at the earliest based on the stuff we want to focus on. We definitely recognize where Trials is at. I think there's just a lot of the game that we also want to spend time with. But a reward like this, I think, is definitely something that would be in the ballpark when we do revisit it, because it's very scalable. And Crowns as a whole is definitely something I think we want to do more exploration of, is delivering to players, because there's a lot of value in there and players seem to really enjoy it.
All right, thank you. And the second question is also about the trial rewards, if not just a permanent reward, but this, like the potions, we can buy stuff forever, like keys, bounty tokens, which helps with the general hunt too, and leveling.
Yeah, I like the idea of adding bounty tokens in there. We have a bounty system update coming out shortly, actually, that's going to give you more ways of spending bounty tokens. So we've been thinking that to coincide with that, we could definitely give out more bounty tokens. That would be a good place to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with, sorry, I know one of our planned bounty makeovers, we don't call it a bounty makeover, bounty refresh, is the idea that your bounty tokens are not going to expire as well. So I know we're exploring more ways that you'll be able to spend and use these things now that you're going to be pretty much amassing more than ever, and they're not going to just like vanish. So yeah.
Yeah, that's for the seasonal ones. But I think actually at the same time we want to provide we're open to the idea of providing an avenue for players to get more bounty tokens as well, where they could spend trial marks to get bounty tokens, just as a way for players to be able to control more of like where do they want to spend their time inside of Dauntless overall.
Oh, and about the bounty token refresh, the patch note or the roadmap was mentioned. We can upgrade the bounties. So this means players can spend 1 token to upgrade to silver, but it requires 3 maybe to gold. So it's not a 1 token to gold.
I think we've locked that. You can share that, right?
Yeah,
Eric?
yeah, we locked it down. So you'll be able, if you draft a bronze bounty, you'll be able to spend 1 extra token to upgrade those to silver once. If you happen to draft a silver, you'll be able to spend 1 to upgrade to a gold. So just extra ways to spend your tokens.
Yep.
Oh, and that sounds good.
And we did a bunch of tuning on all the bounties to narrow the sort of the band, so that when you do get a silver, it's not quite as much work as it used to be. Gold as well, so it should feel like anytime you upgrade, it's definitely an upgrade. It's definitely worth more of your time.
Yeah.
It's something like double the rewards for 50% more work, something like that.
Yep. But we also wanted to make sure that we did the merging of the merits beforehand, so that you weren't feeling the same pressure to go after the exploration bounty every time, and that you could just play the bounty you wanted and upgrade and just really sort of drive your own experience in Dauntless.
All right. Next question, still trial related, which I added as new question. Currently, there are 100 spots on each weapon board, and could it be reduced to something lower, like 50 or 30, to keep the prestige of the trial? So it's not gonna be easy to unlock with a 10 minutes or 15 minutes trial run just because the weapon is not popular, like X or Hammer.
Yeah, it's something we've talked about a lot since we added those boards. We definitely saw that, at times during the year, it was quite easy for someone to just jump in late and, the times are really low, I can jump in and get my gold crown. So yeah, something we're actively discussing. It'll make certain weapons a lot harder to get a crown on, which there's a downside there. So I don't think we made a decision either way right now.
In open beta, I had a guild which hosted a pyjama challenge, and we had to kill behemoths with recruit gear. I think I had a video of me killing Drask with this recruit gear, and I wonder if we could have something like this, but after you kill a behemoth, you get bonuses on that recruit armor, but during these challenges, those bonuses not gonna, they're only in hunts, so you have to do more of these recruit challenges to get more bonuses on that armor set.
Yeah, I can actually speak to this a little bit. I really like the idea of like a challenge armor set. I've been working on the weekly quests that have been coming out and putting together basically kind of a climactic moment at the end, which is going to actually have, I guess let's talk about it, a Krolaki armor set that has 0 perks, 0 armor, and that is going to be rolled out for all players to unlock. And after that weekly quest is done, I think I'm just going to pop it in like a repeatable quest for everyone that can just pick it up if you missed it. And we're going to be keeping a close eye on like how the community engages with that. Like if we see like partners like yourself or people on Reddit being like, you won't believe what I did in the Krolaki set. Like I did a heroic escalation with no perks, no armor, then maybe it'll like we'll see how that goes, and maybe we'll want to do more with it in that avenue, because I think it's really cool. I'm excited to see what people do with it. I'm excited, so we'll see how that goes over with the fans and the players.
Well, I can promise I gonna try it then.
It's all that matters.
I mean, I think
someone tries it.
Yeah, if you try it, I think, and we see, you doing well with it and getting some engagement with it, and we see players enjoying it, I definitely think there's a world where we can try to create more formal events that are tied to doing Krolaki challenges, where it's fighting certain behemoths or certain experiences in Krolaki armor and getting some kind of reward for it, or we can do there's a world we could even add challenges to the new challenge system where every week there's a Krolaki challenge. That feels very forcing players to do that who like to complete all the challenges, so like we're not sure about that, but there's a lot of avenues we can explore with a Krolaki armor set that allows you to get a lot out of that.
Yeah, I was pushing for you to be in underpants, but the art people said we're going to make it look cooler than that, so yeah. It's a good thing I don't do the art for the team.
Correct. That is accurate.
All right, on to the next question about XP banking. Currently, it's not too popular due to it being an XP loss, 25% XP penalty, and that extra 1 level makes very big difference in XP gain. And it's also for, was it 6 levels, I think, if it could get some extra work later.
Yeah, I think both of us have answers to this. I'll let Eric deliver the good news. The things are, there's two things I want to just sort of clarify that. One of the things is we were very cautious with XP banking, and we will continue to be, because we don't want to ever have to take something back. We do not want to deliver a part of XP banking that breaks the progression or that invalidates some portion of the reforge loop, which is such a key part of the game that players really enjoy, finding the most efficient path to that. And so we wanted to provide a way that you don't feel like you're losing out on experience as much when you're playing at high level. And that was the goal. And Eric will deliver the good news on us expanding it, and how far and so forth and so on in a minute. But I just want to really be clear that that's why it was so conservative, and we tried to communicate that. I think we could have done a better job, and I think there's stuff we're going to do next year to try to be more open and direct with the community about those sorts of communications. The second part is I do want to challenge one of the things he said about it being unpopular, because if we actually look at how our players on the whole are engaging with it, a lot of players are playing up to unlocking those full 6 levels and then unlocking them. I think there's valid grumbles about 6 not being far enough and what does that mean, but we actually see a lot of players engaging with it still. And so because of that, and because we feel like we can go a little further, Eric can share with what the next stage of XP banking is going to look like.
Yeah, we've had a lot of Jeff covered it. We had a lot of conversations. We went back and forth a lot during the design phase. It was a completely different design before. We redesigned it. We went back and forth on the numbers. Originally, we were sort of aiming for level 10. So you can bank enough XP, and then once you reforge, you're level 10. I think that's what we're thinking right now is, whether through multiple upgrades or multiple patches or, just do it all at once. That's sort of what we're aiming at right now. I don't know exactly when we would get this out, but that's sort of what we're thinking right now. Like Jeff mentioned, we want it to be conservative. We didn't want to break the reforge the reforge loop and totally throw all of our play patterns out of whack. We want to see how players reacted to it. So overall, pretty happy with how it came out. From what I've seen, people appreciate this feature. They just want more of it. So we're gonna work on that.
I actually can agree with this because it's not bad because new players can stay on max level but still can do heroic escalations and whatever high level content, because without power surge gear it's a very big difference if they do that content on level 20 or us with power surge gear, we can do it on level 16 or something.
Yeah, it helps a lot with these players. And the actually other interesting thing that we saw with it is veteran players who do pool it consistently all the way up aren't going to those early islands. And we actually saw a reduction in churn of new players on those early islands. And we think it's related to the fact that new players aren't showing up in 2 or 3 shotting Ember mains and lesser Drasks and so forth on those islands. And so it's actually having this really positive, healthy effect for the community where veteran slayers aren't inadvertently going and spoiling new players' experiences, where they're working on a behemoth and they just get to half health and then someone shows up in really dope looking armor with a big axe and just hucking the rock, hucks it at them, kills it, and walks away. And they're like, well, that really invalidated a lot of my own sort of success in that moment. And so it's having a lot of really positivity in that as well. So it's a definitely benefit thing. We want to expand it more of it, and I think we'll see how far we can push it before we're sort of at the limits where we think it could start affecting Dauntless negatively.
So next question is about RNG. In open beta, the exotics and the dyes were RNG drops, and personally I prefer those compared to the current one where we just break an enraged head or something and we just get it. Because in MMOs, killing a boss has a 1 per 500 drop rate or something, and for me there is not much thrill in Dauntless because everything is given.
Got Chris into this to talk about them. I know he's the break part rumor master for stuff like that these days. I don't know if you two have any philosophies around RNG versus break parts to cover on this one.
Yeah, like, was your question about RNG in general or specifically for break parts?
It's kind of about getting something special, but it being RNG. Like, not changing current system, but if something new will be added, like, I don't know, pets, because that's how it works in most
People and their
MMOs.
pets. Everyone wants a pet.
Everyone wants the pets.
Everyone
Skyfish
wants the
pets.
pets. No.
Yeah, I could take a stab at it. I mean, I'm personally a fan of RNG based games where you have, at any moment something really cool can drop, and it's like, wow, that makes every fight really exciting. Built into the principles of Dauntless early on, we based a lot of our stuff more on, breaking specific parts, crafting, gear from getting specific parts from Behemoth. There's a certain satisfaction from going out and breaking the thing you want, using high skill and mastery, break the thing you want. I worked really hard to break ahead, and then I could craft what I wanted. I think there's a place in Dauntless for more RNG based rewards. We've certainly talked about it over the years. At one point, we had a design for an expansion to the Cells system, Cells 2.0. People might have heard we mentioned Cells 2.0 many times in the community, and that was going to have an RNG component where you were looking for exotic cells and stuff. We eventually put that down and went towards Omni Cells. Doesn't mean we can't bring elements of that back in some form. But no immediate plans to introduce more RNG into the game, other than through sort of like what Jared was talking about with the rumors and special kind of event based drops like that.
I think the next questions will be mastery related. At one point I had 100% mastery, and with the new Behemoth coming out pretty fast, I couldn't keep up. Anyways, mastery is in the game since the beginning, and with the new Behemoths we get extra mastery objectives. But since release or Reforged, we didn't get new rewards, like prestige stuff for completely mastering a weapon or 100% completion on mastery. If we can get something for it, I don't know, like a crown, like as I mentioned here with trials, a trial crown just for mastery completion. Or maybe uncapping the Slayer level in the mastery, because it's still on level 50 and it's kind of useless.
Yeah, mastery is a fairly old system. I remember I worked personally on mastery a lot. I think it was in 2019. Built that.
Different world.
And
I mean, Jared was still in kindergarten, I think.
Oh, baby. Couldn't even drink.
Yeah, and at the time we had lots of plans to expand mastery. I think when it came out, the engagement with it, we felt like it wasn't quite hitting where we wanted it to. It wasn't that exciting of content to chase. The check marks, the types of objectives we've had. We later moved to sort of the Slayer's Path and the Reforged loop as long tail progression. Doesn't mean we can't expand mastery in the future, but I think we'd be more interested in expanding sort of some of the newer progression systems rather than focusing on mastery at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Because mastery is actually kind of boring, but it gives a sense of completion. Because other than leveling up the Reforged levels page, there really not much to do in the game. Just mastery, trials, and Reforge, kinda.
Yeah, I could see some sort of space for like a celebratory token of some sort. But yeah, I hear what you're saying, because it is a big accomplishment. You kind of want to show your friends and your squad mates that, like, yeah, you've done it.
In mastery, we're getting more mastery XP points for the Behemoths after each part break, wound, stagger, interrupt, and I wonder if these extra little experiences could be added to the weapon skill XP. Like, you interrupt a Behemoth, that's instant 10 weapon XP or something.
Oh, interesting. I mean, I think if we were exploring that world, there's definitely some aspect of that we could figure out. I think within Mastery, there's something to celebrate. The other part, though, is we don't want to create. There's just so many players like you're discussing who enjoy chasing the completionist aspect. I'm also I would be concerned about creating too many sort of bar filling moments where we're asking players to sort of just burn out trying to fill bars and not making sure that we're thinking about how to create a balance in the experience to make sure that it's not just them chasing that out. But it's interesting we've talked a little bit about how to revisit Mastery, and it's interesting to think about it. It still resonates with a lot of players.
Mm-hmm.
And one last question about Mastery. I think it was CT who mentioned the neutral element might be removed from the game or be changed if there are plans with it, or if the rumors are true.
I didn't say it was going to be removed. I would never say such a thing.
I was going to say, what you talking about?
I know there have been talks.
Suggested we remove it.
Yeah, there have been talks about moving away from it and focusing on our prime elements like shock and frost and blaze and stuff, and like working really hard to capture those elements and like their character and their presence in the Shattered Isles, and less so on working on like neutral things that are kind of like they're neutral. They're like they don't have that expression of Aether. Eric, do you want to talk more about it before I bury myself?
Yeah, well, this topic actually came up recently when we were working on Savit. He was originally going to be a neutral element behemoth, and we moved away from that. At the time, we were really debating, okay, what is neutral all about? What is its identity in the game? And we felt like it didn't really have a strong identity. So we swapped him to shock, and at that time we did a lot of discussions about what elements was supposed to be in our game. That's when the topic came up that maybe we should just remove neutral. We haven't made a call on that either way. In fact, just last week, Justin and I were talking about how we still have neutral weapons in the game, and one cool thing we could do, I think it was a community suggestion, is that we allow any legendary weapon to bond to not only their element but neutral weapons. That might give it a cool niche. So we're exploring that. Still up in the air on like where we want to take neutral in the end, but no plans right now to sort of expand that and add more content to the neutral element.
I always joke that we're going to add a neutral escalation, and the capstone boss will just be some dude. Like, yeah,
sounds great.
Just like it's just a character who's just like, hello,
hi,
hello there. NPC.
Yeah. I will say the one thing I will add, since I started, one of the conversations Eric and I have had multiple times is wanting to try to make element of weapon and element of armor more significant. And I think that's an exploration at this point we're not likely to get to till 2023, just based on our current roadmap. But if we did do that, I think there's a world where we would re-explore neutral of either finding some way to make it more interesting or finding a reason to remove it for the purposes of trying to deepen the other elemental, like the prime elementals in the game.
So the next questions will be about cosmetics. I think this question will be mostly for CT. When we see player made Transmogs and ask you guys to make it in-game, the usual answer, there are legal issues. And so if the creators would be big companies like YouTube, I would understand that. And I actually know that is the case because of the banner plant. There was some talk about. But if the one who made these fan arts are individuals, then I don't really see the problem because we partners provided our pictures and we got the flares, and it's there was no legal issue. I mean, we are under NDA,
yeah,
but that could be done with those fan arts.
So yeah, first off, to talk about the partner flares, those assets are more of a branding opportunity than a new like creative armor set. Like it is a 2D picture that we put into a system and it pumps it out. So we don't really see that there. And plus, all partners have already signed NDAs with us and are kind of like in a way an official business partner of the studio, right? Like we are working together.
And we don't sell them. also.
And we also don't sell these flares, right? So they're free. When it comes to community-made transmogs, we pass around a lot of them that are like fantastic and beautiful, but there are some legal issues that do arise, like especially like we would want to make sure that they're compensated fully. They would need to be not a minor, and it would just kind of like open up a world of paperwork and like it's not so black and white, so it's just kind of like tricky to touch. That being said, I have been talking to Julio, a concept artist, about doing something like a community stream where we all get together and we concept something together and like toss ideas at Julio and see what the hell he puts on paper. Would be really fun. That way it's not one individual that we've like purchased their design off of. Because there's also a lot of work of like getting a 2D art asset that the community loves, transferring it into Dauntless style. Like that would probably have to go through our concept artist once again to pass it over, which is not a minimal cost thing to do. Just a lot of layers to it. Jeff, I don't know if you want to hop in.
Yeah, I think, I mean, one of the key parts with that is, you know, a lot of people provide a lot of art, but they're actually in regions of the planet that geographically, for reasons we don't have a tax identity as a company, so we actually can't employ them to provide us the art. And we don't want to put art in the game and have some sort of under the table agreement and that someone isn't fairly compensated. We want to make sure that if we're putting something in the game, someone is paid for that art because they can put it in their portfolio and be credited it and so forth. And there's people who work here who, when they came in, showed concept arts that they designed, but obviously weren't things that we put in the game. And on top of that, we would want to make sure that if we are going to put it in and sell it, that like either there's an agreement with how we purchase it, that we own it in its entirety, or there's some sort of agreement, like sharing of profit agreement. And all that just gets very complicated very quickly. And because we don't, there is so much risk in how you would structure that, we would rather find opportunities like the banners and the flares to work with partners like yourself in creating 2D assets. And for those 3D things, it's just something we celebrate and appreciate. But we actually talked about it recently of like, let's really evaluate how likely it is to do this. And it just came back to this point where like there wasn't a way in which we felt confident we could deliver it without putting risk to the players of not getting what we like. We see one, we're like, oh, we love it. Let's talk to this person. Okay, we're going to make a deal. And there's just so many hurdles between there and getting in game that just didn't seem like it was actually feasible to deliver.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys gonna answer it. It's about the unreleased cosmetics, like that unnamed the Frost Sword, which is supposed to be the Urska's sword, and I don't want to mention other things.
So I wanted to ask you about this because we were reading the question, and I was like, "What sword is this?"
Yeah,
because I didn't know which one it was.
So because we talked about this, we have answers in general for what this is, but like this specific. You have a picture of the sword.
That's cool.
Because this is supposed to be the Urska's sword, but that ended up with another model.
That's a very cool looking sword. I don't know.
I know some things do land on the chopping room floor and like cutting room floor. Is that
cutting room floor? 100% cutting
room floor. Don't judge me for this.
It's okay. Like, no one pays you to talk for a living.
Things like this go through so many iterations that there are assets within our creator realm that just like aren't being used, and like we probably need to go through those and look at what is actual still viable and still cool and like could be used in the game, right?
You're a great exotic sword, right?
Yeah, I think there are assets that sit in the game in the builder that are either incomplete or for one reason or another don't meet our standard or expectation of what we either wanted from a fantasy standpoint at that juncture or a quality bar standpoint. And they're definitely a thing that we sort of circle back and talk to a lot of like, oh, how could we bring this in? What would that look like? But at the moment, for that specific sword that you've posted here, we don't have any plans for it. And considering today Frostwolf came out, I don't think we're going to do a Frost Behemoth in the near future. So it'll probably stay where it is. But there is stuff that players have found before that is unreleased content that we've talked about how to utilize and bring back in, and maybe at some point in 2022 we'll bring those assets into the game through a series of features.
And also, feel free to throw that picture up on screen when we're talking about this. Like, you don't have to hide it. I mean, because people will be like watching this video, like, what is the sword? Feel free to show them the unused sword.
Yeah.
I shared some unreleased stuff actually in one of my videos, but don't worry, nothing is leaky.
In there somewhere, yeah.
Probably favorite cosmetic question. If it will be possible to make double head cosmetics, because a head alone not perfect, and also just the eye patch alone leaving the head empty, but this for me it looks perfect, the head and the eye patch together. So like a head plus a mouthpiece or something together.
So we had it was funny when we went through these questions yesterday, just to, like, breeze through, and we had Jordan, who works a lot on the content pipeline of things, and like he was just like taking notes of these suggestions and being that would be neat, that would be cool, putting it over there, and like I don't know, what could we do? And this actually spawned a really good conversation about like I don't think it would work within our current system, but like maybe there's a world where like you can unlock a head transmog that is the hat and the eye patch, and you can unlock another one that's just the eye patch and another one's just the hat, or like maybe it's in the character creator where like you choose eye patches. Like there are opportunities there.
Well, we don't. Yeah, it would be in the character creator's eye patches. It would be in the character creator when you do the facial adjustments. We could change what the adjustments are, but I think the likelihood is actually that we would just make like for the example, the hat you're posting. We would make a version that's just the hat. Make a version that's the hat and an eye patch. We make a version that's the hat and like 2 eye patches, just for fun. And then you could swap between those different versions of those things, because that's easier for us to deploy. Right now, that character builder doesn't actually have the ability to swap, to add that sort of customization of a character asset. But we were talking about how like we could make helmets that could change different things. And it's totally a possibility, especially with minor assets like that pirate thing. And in general, there's pirates are cool and players really like pirates, and we should probably do more pirate stuff at some point.
Almost like we're gonna have a whole Hunt Pass season around pirates soon.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Isn't it?
Perfect. Good timing.
Oh yes, weapon dice. I know it's difficult to make a new system for it, but in League of Legends there's chroma skins, so maybe in the future releasing the same weapon skin but with different colors into the shop. Like you buy the main weapon skin for 1000 plat, and if you own the main weapon skin you can buy it in different colors for, I don't know, 100 plat.
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday a little bit. I think there's a cool idea here. The complexity of this is actually really significant on the art lift side, but it is not out of question that we could explore doing this in the future. The place I actually come to with this is when I look at a feature like this choice and allowing these chromas and allowing you to buy them. The thing I always think about is, we have to think of the opportunity cost of these sorts of changes. And if we were to make something like this and give it and sell it, our players are going to sit there and go, well, thanks, but I'd really rather you have made, another armor set in a Hunt Pass, or that you did more polish on this Behemoth armor, or the weapons for this got touched up and so forth. So there's always this play at the cost of what we lose, both in art and engineering, if we were to do something like this. But as someone who is currently making their Frostwolf gear set with their cool wolf helmet today, I am going through my weapons and I am not as happy as I want to be with the colors of those weapons and those armors. And so it is in the realm of possibility. It is currently not in development.
We have kind of like towed the line with this kind of stuff before. Like even now, I think there's a pair of chain blades that are coming out that are something we've already released, but we've touched up and changed the colors around so they look different. Like they're made of I forget, so don't don't take it to heart, but I think they're like bone now or something, you know? So like you get a different variety of that weapon, which is cool. I think that also opens us up to a place where we might get feedback that like, oh, they're just recoloring weapons now. So it's kind of like a two-sided coin. I think the chroma stuff is cool because they actually have like visual effects. I don't play League that much, so I may be mistaken, but that is a neat idea that kind of goes beyond. But yeah, like Jeff said, it's always a give and take of priorities and bandwidth of the teams and stuff like that.
And I think the last cosmetic related question is probably very close to me. It's about the dual wielding, like having different colors on the both weapons, and I put some pictures here, like Lucian with the white and black weapon, and my swords, Ganshu and Bakuya from Fate series, or
the mixing and matching of like dual wielding weapons is a pretty cool idea. I don't. It would have to.
So I actually talked to some people about this.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. So I want to be very clear with your question, your captain. So are you asking to be able to dye your weapons different colors, or are you asking to be able to hold two different weapons as a dual blades user or chain blades user?
Mainly I prefer two different looking weapons, but
okay. Great. That is the better answer.
So like if you have two transmog sets for chain blades, you could have one transmog and then the other transmog.
Yes. Yeah. So the short answer is we can do this. It would be a significant amount of work, but it is possible within the current system. And it is something that we think we could do in the future. It would just take, it's a combination of some engineering and some tech art, or engineering, some tech design, but it's possible, and some UI within the game. And I'll be honest with you, it's a very tempting idea. I think for me, I really look at how much narrative in characters transmogs we could see players do, and I just sort of see the week we release this, tons of players would post amazing outfit choices, mixing different weapons and telling stories of what those weapons mean and so forth. It is, so yes, that is awesome, and we could probably end up trying to do that.
Probably, maybe, no promises.
Yeah,
but also it would be cool.
As non-committal as I can make, I want to make that. Is exactly how I want you to understand that sentence.
You've got Jeff curious and excited.
Yes. I asked people who have the skills to actually make this happen, and they're like, well, yeah, we could do this or this. And I was like, okay, all right, we should do that.
Because I also really think this would be absolutely amazing to have different weapons, not just the same weapons twice in the hand.
Yeah. The thing it opens up for us is, if we were to do this, the patch we would do it is we'd want to make a dual blades of some kind that probably is two different blades to show that you can do it. And then all of a sudden, do we set an expectation that players always expect that we're going to make two different dual blades or chain blades, which is not what we want to do, right? We want to make one chain blade for every armor set that you got to mix. But I would feel like that one time we'd want to make two chain blades to show off that you could do it differently. Not that that's a reason not to do it, but we'd want to solve that. Also, this is the chain blades animation now. This is the hand signal for chain blades.
Yeah, repeaters too would be cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot with repeaters that you could do. You'd have I always think of like playing Red Dead, where you've got like a double barrel shotgun as your off gun, and you've got your revolver as your primary, and so you're like fast gun and then boom boom.
Also assuming that this wouldn't work with like twin suns. That's my assumption, because we don't like do transmogs on exotics and stuff. But yeah,
I don't think we would. Yeah, we would want to leave that alone for now.
Cool.
Next question: excess Behemoth parts. If there will be any plans where we can waste or thousands of Emperor parts?
Eric has a lot of feelings about this.
This is something I've wanted to do for a really long time. It comes up constantly. We've tossed around a million ideas for how to do this. I don't know if we have like the solution right now. We have a bunch of cool ideas. I would love to tackle this at some point next year, and we'll have to see. Just today, actually, I was mocking up sort of a big diagram of all of our currencies in the game, and what doesn't have a sync, and how we could solve that. So yeah, it is on my mind constantly, and we'll see.
It's something I love.
If you can't see the inventory, it doesn't exist, right, Eric?
Yeah, no, it's in the cloud.
Nope. Okay. Nope. No, we definitely want to find some way to find you to output these. We're talking about it. We're talking a lot about it.
Oh, all right. So I guess we're not gonna get any update on this in the next half a year. It's
nothing's currently planned, but I know that Eric is always putting together new pitches for how we should approach this. And the last 2 he sent were very tempting.
We'll see.
all right.
Obviously, if it's something very ambitious,
Yeah.
it's this whole other system with all these upgrades, and you can do, that's less likely. If it's, you can sell them at a vendor now for RAMs, or that's what a lot of people suggest, or bunch of converting between currencies, that's a lot quicker. We could probably bang that out when the opportunity arises. So yeah, we'll keep discussing it.
The next question will be about armors. Like legendary weapons has their own prismatic slots, and if armors could be special too, maybe if not with prismatic slots, because that would be too OP. But maybe set bonus or something like adding status effect resistance.
Man, Eric, did you plant these questions?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Obviously, we've talked about legendary armor for a long time. Whether we can find a cool way to add that into the game. Obviously, it can't be prismatics, or otherwise, why have any armor when all of your armor can equip any cell? But not long ago, we sort of did some prototypes of set bonuses. I know we have a bunch of really compelling designs in this space. We've wanted to get rid of, a lot of the immunity cells for a long time, warmth and shell shock resist, and all those minor perks that no one really uses, and maybe bake that into set bonuses. We've talked about minor perks, adding sort of another layer of, these are cool little bonuses you can add, and those come on as set bonuses. This isn't, it wouldn't be a ton of work to do this, so it's just a matter of the opportunity when we have time to do it.
Jeff's face when you said not a ton of work. It's like,
yeah. Let's not, designers don't decide how much work something is. Let's be very clear. That's not how development works, and Eric says that from the safety of his home. There are some producers around me who, if they heard Eric say it's not a lot of work, would be very unhappy.
Yeah. Things are easy. Yeah, I'd love to do this, honestly. I'd love to add more decision making around your gears, your gear sets. I think it would be really cool.
Yeah. So. Actually, if we could just make that meme for the community, next time everyone's happy, just say Proteus said things are easy.
Things are easy.
Just every day. Things are easy. That's what Proteus said.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask about sponsorship. In open beta, there were lots of YouTubers got sponsored, like Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, Shroud, Shy from Warframe, and many other Warframe partners. Currently, based on the social medias like Reddit, Twitter, and such, I don't see Dauntless growing that much. Probably just stagnates. Or sorry if I saying so. Will there be any plans to get bigger content creators into a game to sponsor it?
So this is like a marketing budget question, which is something that I can't get super into, but I do want to say that we made a very conscious decision with our marketing to focus on our current users and making sure that everyone in the game is happy, instead of reaching out to the Shrouds of the world and the Markipliers of the world to kind of bring in new blood. We measured a lot of the results we had with that, and we thought it was a stronger move to focus on our content creators who are actually really passionate about the game. They may have a smaller audience, but their content is, you can feel that the people actually really want to be there playing it. And we think that is just a lot more valuable in the long run, because genuine excitement, which I'm a big fan of. Jeff, I don't know if you want to dive into.
Yeah, I can share a little bit more on that. So I think the other part to factor in is so one of the things is Dauntless is actually not stagnating. This is a really interesting, I think, Reddit versus reality situation of with the Savit launch 2 weeks ago. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. We had a huge weekend. It did very well. There was a ton of players that came back to play. We've got a lot of plans to try to create more events of Behemoth next year to try to launch and get more players to come back. And also launching on next gen, there are a lot of PS5 players who are coming to Dauntless for the first time right now. And one of the things for us is when we decided to pull back on a lot of the marketing spend, one of the drivers that gave us comfort in that is Dauntless is a very healthy, organic new user acquisition. So new users coming in all the time from PC, Switch, Xbox, PlayStation. And so the game actually is doing, it is the stagnating thing, I think, is a very, people on the subreddit look at each other and see the same people every week and go, I guess it's just us. And, for us, we're trying to make sure that we're interacting and delighting the players who are here, who are playing the game and sticking around. And the game gets thousands of new players every week. And we're feeling pretty good about that, actually. And we're really excited in 2022 to provide a lot more for all players of Dauntless across sort of the new players to the sort of 1,000-hour plus players.
Yeah, there's a really interesting discussion that Jeff talked about. Is like when you look at Reddit, that is very much the tip of the iceberg of the vocal players on the internet, and it is really just a very small fragment that is the tip of this huge player base that's there. The majority of people don't.
And that's true for every game.
It's true for every game, every piece of media. It is always the tip of the iceberg. And that's not to say that is bad or should be ignored. We want that tip of the iceberg to be the shiniest part of the iceberg that you see, and a healthy part of the iceberg, which is a lot of my job is trying to make sure that iceberg is getting.
I think we want the game to be the shiniest part of the iceberg, but
sure. you want all the players to be happy. You want them to be informed so that they can communicate thoughtfully and happily about the bulk of the iceberg. I love this iceberg analogy that's just running away from me. But yeah, that is something that we have to keep in mind on a daily basis.
Yeah, I just mentioned Reddit and Twitter because Dauntless doesn't show the active players and such data.
I'm not sure what games do. It's very different per platform, right? You can look at Steam and look at Steam numbers, and you can look at other platforms like that. But a lot of games don't outwardly share their current players, or a lot of those numbers that you will see on games that are we've reached this amount of players. There's a lot of various ways you can define this amount of players. It could be active players, it could be signups, it could be people who touched it in the last 5 years. It's very weird. And data is a very strange beast, and I am not a data analyst, so I'm probably going to stop talking.
But I think Twitter and Reddit are how the majority of people that interact with Dauntless outside of Dauntless is where they do it. It's just that a lot of people who play Dauntless also don't interact on Twitter and Reddit. They just play Dauntless and then talk to their friends in their social circles.
Yeah.
And so I think but that doesn't mean that we aren't on Reddit every day reading about Dauntless and in the subreddit reading it and so forth. And I've actually started posting more and more, and will continue to do so in the new year. But I definitely think that, to your point around the marketing spend where you were originally asking, at the moment we don't feel a need. We don't feel like it's the best use of the resources we have on Dauntless is to spend it there. And we'd rather be making more behemoths and making more, in-game events and, more ways for players to enjoy Dauntless.
Yeah. Probably a good opportunity to also say that we're planning on doing a lot more AMAs in the new year for that tip of the iceberg. And we want to
We're going to talk about you and iceberg later.
It's winter, frostfall, whatever. But yeah, we wanted to be a lot more communicative, and we're planning to do more frequently, going back to AMAs like we used to do. It's been busy right now, but we want to get back to that core communication again.
Next question, experimental server. We didn't get an experimental testing since I think it was the portal testing where this sword came from. If there will be plans to utilize this experimental server later.
Yeah, I mean, I think Eric's working on something right now that I think we would want to send to experimental before we would go live with it.
Eric's picking his brain about what he's working on right now. He's like, "What the heck?"
Yeah, I mean, in general, we get so much value from the experimental, the PTR and the ETRs. We have the partner test realm just to get some really focused feedback, but the wider net on the experimental realm is super useful. We tried to get one to. I'm trying to remember. We didn't get one for chain blades, or we got one really early.
We had one very early. I think we also had one for repeaters.
Yeah, we did have one for repeaters.
Yeah.
I think maybe that was the last one.
The trick about experimental is getting it out early enough that we can action on the feedback before the release date. So it's like getting it to a point that we can actually be representative of the product, but still early enough that we can change it. It's like a really, really fine point where we can get in there.
Yeah, and there's obviously more. There's more effort on our part to do an experimental one because it's a wider player base. It's not NDA'd, and it's just everything's more open. So we there's a little bit more due diligence on our part to get that set up, but definitely want to keep using that. We get so much value from it. So much great feedback comes from those things. So we'll keep doing them.
Oh, that sounds great. Because usually on Reddit after each experimental, I don't really see that much feedback. But if you guys getting information from it, then I guess that sounds useful.
So the Discord is actually where a lot of the discussion happens because we can engage back and forth a lot more quickly. Yeah. So the other designer who's going to come today, Justin, he is very active in the Discord after experimentals and has done a lot. He goes into a lot more back and forth conversation and so forth. And Reddit's a tough place to have those back and forth really quickly because people post much more asynchronously, and so you can't actually get those sort of level of drilling down to someone's specific thoughts on something. Or a lot of times the sort of primary feedback someone has is something we're very aware of, and we're like, yeah, agreed, we want to fix that. But like in the sentence you wrote, you sort of said something about this, and we want to drill a couple layers down to understand what they meant about that. And for us, we've had the most success with those who engage on Discord around that because you can just get a much faster back and forth in dialogue.
Yeah. On that note, I'd love to do more of these because this is actually really nice to sit down and talk and not do the weird back and forth sentencing where like things like it's just a nice format. I like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you two have meetings after this, by the way?
I unfortunately do have a 3:00 meeting.
Okay. Want to ask one more question then?
Yeah, I would love to give you one more question.
One last question. I guess. I guess I gonna skip the guild part because it would be...
We want to do social. We want to do social. We'll leave it at that. Yeah.
But personally, I would like some extra partner perks. Because well, we have the flares, but it's no longer used because of the navigation system. We have the hand passes, but that's already free if you bought one because it gives 100% of the plat back. But the moderators on the social stuff could design their very own hats or cosmetics, and I wonder if the partners could do the same, like design something.
That'd be fun. I'd love to explore that in the new year and see what that looks like. I had a great time hanging out for full transparency with our moderators on Discord and some of the Reddit ones, like figuring out what a moderator helmet would look like and working with the concept artist. Super fun time. Love doing it. I'd love to get something set up like that at the partners. It's a ask of when we have the bandwidth of an artist, a 3D modeler, and probably a few other people in there to get it done. There was
watching you produce is really entertaining.
I did it all myself. But there was also a lot of questions in there too of like maybe it should have been a crown because some of the partners, while we all work together on it, they're like, I don't even wear helmets, or it doesn't work with this outfit, or like it's like because at first I was like, did you want a weapon? But not everyone uses the same weapons, and then like. So like maybe it should have been a crown that floats above your head because then everyone can have it on. But like we can talk about this in the partner Discord too. And
the other one that I was talking about earlier today with another designer on the product was actually with a new armor for Phosphol that's out today. It has the footprint effects, and so one of the ones is what if we made it so that you had footprints that was the partner symbol. because it's the same light effect. We can just put it. We can try to find some way to make it as a like cosmetic change to a personality, and so when they run around, you just see your crossed swords. Or what symbol we would work on with every partner that would make sort of sense.
Yeah.
So there are definitely opportunities, and what it would be lovely to see is, how many options would we want to do? Would we give you a choice of a crown or a footsteps or something else, and then you have the ability to do those.
Oh, those footsteps really sounds promising.
Yeah. Poke me in 2022. Like a bunch of us are about to go on vacation, so I'll be around for a bit. But like, I do really want to work on something for the partners to have.
It would be lovely. I want to support more of it for sure.
Oh, awesome. Maybe one last question for CT.
All right.
Okay. One, but I really do have to go. But come on.
Last year, I got my flare, but is it possible to get it recolored? Because
yes, I've been meaning to ask some people about the recolor of your flare because I know it's not the proper red. I'll make a note right now. I was busy with the new partners and getting their flare set up. But I can poke some people. I think it should be somewhat easy to swap the color on it. But Jeff is like,
I just stop saying it's easy. Like, what are you doing? We can absolutely work to fix that. I don't know when. We will work in the new year to fix that for you.
So thank you guys for joining and having the opportunity to make this interview. And yeah.
No problem. I'm excited to see it all edited up and out on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
That was great.
It's going to be a good time.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot,
Thank
Captain,
you guys.
for doing this.
Have a good
All right.
meeting.
Later, everybody.
Or something.
See ya.
Yeah.
See ya.
All right. See ya. When you look at tip on the internet, and it is really just very small. Is the tip of this huge play is